presentation on Zoom before. I usually do this as an in-person experience I usually create with people. So you're going to see me sometimes get up and move around a little bit just to move so you can see some of the sacred portals and such. But right now I want to find a little bit about you. Would you like to increase your spiritual superpowers? And if you could just show by raising a hand, that would be great. Yeah, okay. Because that's what this topic is about. I want to thank you for sharing because that's really helpful. What are spiritual superpowers though? I mean, everybody might have a self-definition. Some might call them spiritual gifts, but some of the main spiritual superpowers that I focus on with people are your intuition, your ability to create your life, like being the creator of your reality, because you really are, and that's one of your spiritual superpowers. Your power to choose, your thoughts, your imagination, your imagination gives you the ability to visualize, and also a superpower is spiritual superpower is your ability to receive visions from whatever higher power you believe in. So these are just a few of them that that are, I guess, gifts that you can either open the door or maybe already have the door open to. So do you know like what the most frequent question is, or the most frequent superpower that I get questions around is? Anybody have an idea? No? Shake your head, yes or no. Okay, I got no's here. Okay, it really is about your intuition. I have people ask me questions all the time about, well, how do I learn how to trust my intuition more? How do I, like develop my intuition more? How do I get downloads, intuitive downloads? Because, especially like being in the group that Marina and I are in, we meet people that aren't as woo-woo, and we meet people who are woo-woo. And some of the ones who aren't as woo-woo come in and go, well, I want downloads. How can I get downloads? Like, you're having downloads, And so that I get that question constantly from people going, I want downloads, or I want to trust my intuition more. Those are probably the two biggest questions I get, and the superpower that people want. They don't even know it's a superpower, but they want to know more about it because it's been in mainstream now. So I'm curious, how many people here would love to know more about how to increase or develop your intuition and trust it more? Raise your hands out of curiosity. Okay. Any of those of you who are on your phone, feel free to throw it in the chat, because obviously you cannot raise your hand, So since we're going to spend a little time together, is it okay if I share a little bit about my story? Raise a hand there. Is that okay? Or shake your head? Okay, thank you. I really appreciate you participating. So I've been on the spiritual path for over 30 years. I call myself a Buddhist yogi, as Marina said. I'm an interfaith minister, a sacred artist, and I also am what I call a healer of consciousness, because I'm all about how do I help you, like what Marina said, raise your consciousness so that you can start to create the life you love, and, actually learn how to master those spiritual laws so you can manifest what you truly desire, not just what you think has to come your way. Okay. So I've been devoutly practicing for over 30 years, every morning, every evening, doing a spiritual practice of chanting and meditating and other spiritual practices. But even though I've been doing this for a long time, if I back up 10 years ago, I would tell you I was not a visual person. And you ever go to things where they do guided meditations, right? They guide you through, you see things in your mind's eye. I would go to those guided meditations and see nothing. Nothing would ever show in my mind's eye. I would feel things. I'm an empath. I know what people are feeling. I know I can, take on their emotions. That's how my intuition worked for me. And I thought, oh, well, this is a spiritual gift I have, and that's where it's going to be. It wasn't until about 7 years ago, my wife actually recommended that I take an art class. She said, oh, why don't you take an art class? You're such a creative person, take an art class. So I said, all right, I'll take an art class. So I started taking an oil painting class. And I took this class, I started oil painting, and I loved it. So I started doing it, and I started to, learn how to paint from oils. And I decided when it was time for me to paint a person that I wanted to paint Yogananda. Now, I don't know if you know who Paramahansa Yogananda is. Paramahansa Yogananda right there. That's my first painting I've ever done of a person. He's a yogi that came from India back in 1920. And he came to help bring East and West together, the oneness of all spiritual paths, and here I am, an interfaith minister. I want that, to really help bring people together. And I wanted to paint him, though, not just paint him. I wanted his vibration, his power, because he has disciples. I even became one of his disciples. I wanted his painting to have his energy, his power, his vibration in it. And so this was an idea I kept to myself. I just was like, I have this idea, I want to do it. And so I painted him. And when I just completed him, one of my co-students, who was a friend, came by and went, hey, Yogananda's in the house. And I thought, oh, I did a pretty good job, okay. But that's not the amazing part of the story. What happened is when you have an oil painting, you have to put it up to dry. And I stuck him up to dry. And I came back a week later, and some woman who I did not know who she was, I'd never even seen her in the art studio. She came up to me and she said, are you the person who painted Yogananda? And I said, well, yes, I am. And she said, well, I just have to tell you, I'm a disciple of his. And when I look at your painting of his, I can feel his vibration, his power. I feel like I'm being blessed by him. And I went, thank you. But on the inside, I went, oh my goodness, it worked. Yeah, have you ever had that happen where you have this desire, but you don't know if you can do it, and you go, and then it happens? I went, oh my goodness, it worked. So then I was like, okay, Yogananda is painted in what they call basically two tones. It's basically a brown and a white and mixed together, all the different values. Okay, so I was going to a color painting as I was learning how to paint. I said, okay, well, I want to paint another person in color, and I decided to paint Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, I don't know if you guys know the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Okay, some people are shaking yes. I don't know. I'm going to give you a little brief thing. Okay, Our Lady of Guadalupe is the only image that I know is a miracle. It's the only, it's a painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe that we do not know how it got created. As far as in the logical perspective, it got created from a miracle of, Mother Mary showing herself to a peasant in Mexico. And so I had this idea like, oh, I want to paint Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I want her to have the vibration of the original, miracle on the tilma. And so I thought, okay, let me paint her. So I'm painting her and I finish her up and I'm coming to the end. And it was really amazing because she never felt alive until all of a sudden, and it might be too far away, but on her cloak are these stars, okay? And I was painting all the stars on her cloak and I finished, and all of a sudden she came alive. I was like, oh my goodness. So my teacher, who is not spiritual at all, walks by and says, wow, you finished those stars and that painting came alive. And I laughed on the inside, but then that was like, I put it up to dry, and then I was in there. And another woman who, again, I had not seen in the studio really. I'd seen her once. She was a new student. She was from Mexico originally. She comes up to me and she says, oh, Our Lady of Guadalupe, so beautiful. And I've seen her, I could feel her vibration in it. And she said, you could take this painting and go sell it at a Catholic church for $1,500. And she walks away. And I laughed, but I went, oh my goodness, this is really happening. And that's when I started to realize that I want to create sacred portals that bless people. I want every painting I create to be, something that is the divine presence that blesses people, that people feel blessed and can feel the energy of the divine through. And that was the first time I really admitted it and started to do it. And so from there, I started to keep creating paintings. I created God Rays, which was from a seascape, because I lived in Encinitas at the time, right by the ocean. And I don't know if you've ever had it happen where you drive by the ocean and it's a cloudy day, but there's little spots where the sun comes through, right? And what do you just like, God rays are coming down and blessing you. And so I was like, oh, like you feel this energy. Well, I wanted to create that. And so I just kept like, I want to do this. But as I was doing it, what started to happen was in my daily meditation, I started to get visions, something that had never happened before. I was getting these visions and I realized, oh, Divine Mother is giving me these visions to be sacred portals I'm to create. And then each one started coming with a clear, here's the blessing with the vision. And so I started now, what I create are, the portals are visions. They're not ideas that I come up with, like with the Yogananda and Our Lady of Guadalupe, of copying something that exists. It's a vision that comes in meditation with a blessing, and I create them. So, from there, I kept like, okay, let me create these portals, and I began to create them. And then what started happening, because I really see my portals as alive, I moved one time, and had to pack them away. You know, you put them away, and I could feel like I missed them. And when I took them out of the boxes, I was just like, oh my goodness, I was like hit with this energy of like, oh my goodness, they really are alive. And that's when I realized, oh, it's not just my little idea that they're alive. They really are alive, you know? And so I started to own that, oh, my portals they're actually alive. And then what started happening is they started giving me messages. So now whenever I work with people, whether it's, you know, doing what I call sacred portal coaching, because I used to coach and not use my sacred portals. Now the sacred portals come in. I invite them in. I ask who wants to show up. And later today, I've asked who wanted to show up today, and I've got some that have said they want to show up to give some messages, and they give intuitive messages. And so now I commune with them on a daily basis and continue to commune with them. And what happened was then Divine Mother gave me a download to say, you know what, you're supposed to create personal divine presence portals for people so that their spirit guide shows up and helps them to go out and bless people with their purpose and to step into their purpose and to overcome whatever challenges are holding them back from, you know, getting into that purpose they're here to be. So have any of you ever felt like you have a purpose in your life? Again, show of hands. Sometimes you don't know what it is, right? I don't know if you all know what your purpose is. I meet a lot of people who raise their hand. I see somebody, Patty, shaking your head like you feel like you have them, but you don't know what it is. Is that correct? Yeah, that I meet lots of people like that. They go like, yeah, I feel like there's more for me here in life, but I don't know what it is, you know? And that's the whole thing that as through this process I came to be clear on is that I'm here to help people with fulfilling their purpose. So as I continue to do this, I realized, oh, here's the catalyst for increasing and revealing your spiritual powers. You know, it's creativity, but not just any kind of creativity. See, part of what happened when I was going through my process of learning how to paint was my teacher used to come by and yell at me, literally from across the studio, Deepa, relax, Deepa, relax. And I'd be like, what? He goes, you got to relax when you paint. And so because he said that to me like every day for the first month until I learned how to relax when I paint, was I thought, well, I'm a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher. Let me use some of those practices before I paint. And I started to create a little ritual there before I painted. I would pray before to invite Divine Mother in. I would do some pranayama. I would do some yoga postures. I listened to certain kinds of music, and I created a whole ritual of what I do before I begin to create these sacred portals. And it came out of my teacher just yelling at me, relax, Deepa, relax. So that's where Divine Mother speaks to you through anybody, And so I realized it's about creativity, but bringing it together with spirituality, that starts to be the catalyst for your superpowers. Now, here's the key. I thought, okay, it's spirituality and creativity. As I was continuing to create my sacred portals, in the beginning, my sacred portals were only blessing me. You know why? Yeah. They were only blessing me because I didn't show anybody them. I hung them up in my art studio for only me because I was too afraid. Have you ever had that where you're afraid to like put yourself out there? Yeah. Okay. Well, I was too afraid. I thought, okay, what are people going to think? What if I'm the only one who feels the energy and the blessings? What's my family going to think? Because my family's not spiritual at all. I'm like the only one that's spiritual in my immediate family. So they think I'm just totally woo-woo. They just don't get any of it. So I was just like, had all these negative voices coming up, and I wasn't putting them out there. The only person who saw them was me. And then the occasional person, or the occasional live event I did or something at that time. Because at that time I didn't do a lot because I was still working on fear. And so I thought, when I finally realized that, I went, what do I need to do? And I thought, oh, I need to heal this. I need to heal this voice that's preventing me, that's worrying about what other people think, that doesn't feel good enough, that's stopping me from like stepping in to my purpose. And so I started working on that healing part of my life of like, how I'm going to heal this, and I started healing that. And so I combining spirituality, creativity, and healing, that's when I started to step fully into my purpose and start to share my sacred portals with people. Started to offer the divine presence portals to people. Because Divine Mother gave me that download to, she said, do these personal divine presence portals. And when she first told me, I was like, you've got to be kidding. You want me to tune into someone's energy and do this portal for people? So I thought, all right, I'll put it up on my website. I put it up on my website, but never told anybody about it, just stuck it up on my website, okay? But then finally I got to a point and I said, you know what? I am declaring, I'm putting my, stake in the ground. I'm owning that I'm a sacred artist, a spiritual teacher, a healer of consciousness, and I'm gonna own this 100%. After I owned that, 24 hours later, out of the blue, I get this email from somebody saying, I saw that you do these divine presence, personal divine presence portals. I'm interested. I want to do one. I went, oh my goodness. I responded to her, set up a call to talk to her. She says, after we talked, she says, I really want to do this. How much is it? I didn't even know what to charge her because I had not, it was so I had not stepped into it. I made up a price and I did it. Okay. So I did this, created this divine presence portal. The whole time in the connection meeting, because when I do this, I connect with the person. We talk about what their purposes they're wanting to step into, or the challenge they're having stepping into it, and I tuned into her energy. The whole time she kept talking about Mother Mary, but that's not the spirit guide that showed up. So I painted the spirit guide that showed up and shared it with her after I finished it. And I was a little scared because it was my first time doing it. I was like, well, she talked about Mother Mary the whole time, but that is not who showed up for me. So I got done, I painted it, and I showed it to her, and her tears started to come out of her eyes. And she said, oh my goodness, that I was told by an Akashic reader that I have a spirit guide of a fairy, and that is what I painted, not knowing whether it was, and then I give an intuitive message with it. And so when she came back and told me, and then she even showed me a picture of a photo that I had been given to her that I had used, had so similar, not exactly, but so many similarities to what I had painted, that at that point I had no more doubt about Divine Mother is telling me to go do this out in the world, and I have to just move forward. And so, so besides the spirituality, creativity, and healing that are the catalysts, it was also the willingness to own my purpose that made a difference. Okay. So, but what was blocking that? Because some of you shook your head yeah, I know I have a purpose, but I don't know what. And so you're probably wondering what's blocking my ability to know what that purpose is, right? Is anybody here wondering what that is? Yeah. So I got to get some head shaking. Okay. So there's 3 things that block your ability to know what your purpose is. And these same blocks block your ability to, increase your spiritual superpowers and to actually reveal them. So if you have some superpowers that haven't been revealed yet, these things are also blocking that. Okay. So it's fear. Okay. The fear keeps you frozen from believing it's possible. The fear keeps you from taking action. The fear keeps you thinking that you have to do this little safe, secure thing. So that's one of the big blocks, fear. The second block is your emotional wounds. Now you might be thinking, well, what's my emotional wound? You know when you have an emotional wound when anytime you're reacting, right? When you react, right? Something happens, you do it, you didn't think about it, and then lots of times what happens after you react? You're not really too happy with yourself, or you regret that you said it or did it, right? Right. So that emotional wound is a habitual way of thinking or being, and you're going into the past. It's, because a wound got pushed on that brings you into that past. And that blocks your ability to know your purpose. It blocks your ability to step into your superpowers, your spiritual superpowers, because you're stuck in the past. You're not in the energy of the divine at that moment, the moment you react, the moment that emotional wound is pushed. And sometimes you may not have an outward reaction. Have you ever had where, sometimes you can feel it being pushed on the inside, but you've learned enough to not let it show on the outside? that's still an emotional wound that needs to be healed, because it's still like, well, I can still feel it, you know. And so that blocks your ability to know your purpose and to step into owning all of your spiritual superpowers, you know. Because of my process, I, you know, started to really look at those and heal. And so that's why now I have, you know, visions and the ability to take these intuitive messages, and these, you know, my sacred portals give me messages, you know. All that before I did not have. I had intuition, but not the vision and the ability to receive these messages from my portals, and the ability to connect with the part of them that is alive, you know, because they truly are. But there's this third thing that's going on, and that's your subconscious programming. Okay, we have three minds. You're going to hear most of the people who talk about spiritual laws talk about you have two minds, your subconscious and your conscious mind. But in yoga, you learn there's the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious mind. Okay, your superconscious mind always knows what your truth is, and it's never going to let you forget it. It knows what's true in your heart. It knows why you came here on this planet. You know, it's going to always exist in your beingness. Okay, your subconscious mind, which has gotten a bad rap by a lot of people, you need it. So it's not bad. Okay, you need it because when you get up in the daytime, you got to use it to tie your shoes. You know, so what makes it so you can remember how to tie your shoes. But the challenge with the subconscious programming is you were given all this programming from the time you were a little kid, before you had the ability to choose what got in there. You see, before the age of 7, it just all gets put in by your parents and society. And so you have this subconscious programming that starts to operate, especially when you're under fear, and you go into these default behaviors, default thinking, default behaviors. And have you ever had something happen where you did some behavior or said something and you just go, why did I do that? Anybody here? Shake your head. Anybody got you? Yeah, I mean, I know everybody's had it at some point in their life where you go, why did I do that? Subconscious programming. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because, you know, you don't know better. It's because at that moment, your subconscious programming has taken over and is ruling what you do. And in fact, your subconscious programming, unless you're very highly aware and coming from your superconscious mind, is ruling your life even when you don't know it, even when you don't go, oh, why did I do that? Because when you start to make decisions from your fears, that's your subconscious programming taking over. When you start to go, well, let me do what's just safe and secure, that's your subconscious programming taking over. See, because your subconscious programming wants to do what's safe, secure, and the same. So anytime you see yourself doing what's safe, secure, and the same, your subconscious thinking is happening. Those three things keep you stuck from knowing your purpose, keep your spiritual gifts suppressed. Now, you might have some great spiritual gifts already because everybody's in a different place, and that is fantastic. But I can guarantee you they can be expanded if you start to do these three things of how do you overcome these three blocks, I should say. Because all of us have a purpose. All of us have great spiritual gifts and powers, superpowers. But it's just a matter of whether we're allowing them to reveal themselves and whether we're allowing them to step into their full power. Okay, so how do you overcome these three blocks? I've mentioned them: spirituality, creativity, healing, and starting to own what your purpose is. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes people think, I have one life purpose and that's it. I'm not a believer in that. See, there's this law of more life operating every day in your life. More life is that you're growing and expanding. Okay? So if you're not growing and expanding, if you're on the contractive side of the equation, then you're going to be limiting your spiritual gifts. You're going to be limiting the purpose that you came here to come, to serve and to fulfill. Because we all come here with more than one purpose. See, like when you're a mom, your purpose might be to be the best mom that you can be. And then after your kids grow up and they're 20, 25, you're like, All right, what's my next? I'm here for something more, and then you have to own in and step into that purpose, because you're either expanding or contracting. There is no standing still in life. And this is one of the most important things I want you to get. If you think you're standing still, you're not. You're either expanding or you're either contracting. Now, how do you know which one you're doing? I've got some questions for you. So are you willing to answer them? Yeah, I got some yes. Okay. So ask yourself, do you feel bored or stagnant in your life? You don't have to say them out loud, just ask them for you, okay? Do you feel like something's missing in your life? Okay. Are you afraid, stressed, or doubting yourself most of the time? Is that like on the equation? Is it more not than not? Do you see yourself doing the same old thing week after week after week? Okay. If you find yourself saying yes to any of those things, you're on the contractive side. See, because in the law of more life, you don't do the same old thing week after week after week. Doesn't mean not, some of it's not the same, but see, we're supposed to be growing and expanding into our consciousness and into our spiritual gifts and into our purpose. And so there should be change happening where each week there's something new and different that you're doing. Okay. So let me also ask these for you. Do you feel fulfilled at the end of your day? Okay. Do you feel joy and happiness throughout your day? Do you feel passionate and enthusiasm about what you're doing in your day? Okay, so, and are you acting on anything that feels like part of a purpose or a big vision? If you're saying yes to these, if you have more yeses than nos, then you're on the expansive side. So neither way is wrong. It's just to tell you, where are you? See, because if you're on the contractive, you know you need to start moving to the expansive. If you're on the expansive, it doesn't mean you stop. It means like, how do I step into the next level of this expansion? Because the law of more life is always operating, and we are hardwired to have more life in our beingness. See, we're not supposed to go, well, I'm this age, that's okay. I don't need to do anymore. It really is supposed to be to the point until you're dead. It's the only time you're going to stop expanding on the physical plane. See, because in reality, right, we're going to have more life when we reincarnate. But you have to start to go, well, where's my more life now while I'm in this body, while I'm in this particular, incarnation? So who here wants to reach your full potential? Yeah? Okay, yeah, I know I do. And I'm still stepping into more of my full potential. So part of that, fulfilling that full potential, is about saying to myself or yourself, what can I do to keep the on the expansive side of the equation? How can I expand more? See, now you might be thinking, I'm too old, or I don't know how, or how can I possibly ever completely keep expanding? But once you start to ask yourself that question, it starts to happen. See, it's our mind is an amazing thing. The questions you ask it are so important. If you ask it questions that are contractive and negative, you get those kind of answers. If you ask the question of expansion, then you get those kinds of answers. So one of the things I do, and this wasn't even in my talk, but I'm getting the download to talk about it, is a solution-oriented question. See, one of the ways that you start to begin on the expansive side is to ask yourself a solution-oriented question. And a solution-oriented question is where you have a goal or a vision or something that you're wanting, a desire, and you put that into the question. So like one thing, in one of my former lives when I was a sales rep, I was a sales rep making a lot of money, but I was making a lot of money not having enough time to enjoy it. Anybody ever been there where you're making good money, but there's no time to enjoy it? Well, I was in that place a long time ago. And I was like, gee, this is not working. What good is having all this money when I don't have time to enjoy it? So I started asking myself, how can I make more money and work less hours? Because my goal was I wanted to keep making more money, but I wanted to work less hours. And I kept asking that question. And that's when I first saw the power of the solution-oriented question, was way back then. Because I asked that question myself every day. I answered it and started instituting the answers. And I was able to take my 70-hour work week down to 25 hours, and I made more money. I made six figures without and more, and I continue to increase it by asking that question. So I want to let you know all things are possible. So the three components that are really necessary are those three things I've been talking about that unlock your purpose and your spiritual powers are spirituality, having some kind of spiritual practice. I'm not here to tell you what it has to be, but having something, like every morning, every evening, or, that you take a touch of base with what you believe in your higher power, and then combining that with your creativity, your creative power, the creative power within you. Because that creative power is what brings in possibility, solutions, answers to something that when you say, I don't know, right? How often do you guys say, I don't know in a day? I bet every one of you say it somewhere in the day, every day. Is that not true? That you say, right? Right. So, the truth is that all the knowledge that ever was or ever is equally present in all places at the same time. We just have to tune into it. We have to awaken to it. And creativity is one of those ways. And then again, healing. The healing of letting go. Healing is letting go of what's no longer serving you, what's keeping you stuck, letting go of beliefs that are keeping you in the same habitual habits, letting go of all the false beliefs that have made you feel like you're not enough. Because I have found from working with clients that the biggest thing that needs to be healed is not enough and self-hatred. Now, you might not think you hate yourself, but can you say you actually love yourself completely? Because that, if you cannot, then you have some form of self-hatred. And I can tell you that from my experience, I had a lot of self-hatred. It is something I work on still to this day, to love myself completely. It's one of the things I work with clients is to help with what I call a consciousness plan, because it's how do you raise up your consciousness? Now, it's individual to each person, because see, when I asked you like those questions of are you on the expansive side or the contractive side, everybody's in a different place. Some are on the contractive, some are there on the expansive, some are on just barely being expansive. Like maybe they can answer yes to one of those questions on the expansive side, but not all four of them. Okay, and so that determines where the starting point is. See, like when people try to use a cookie cutter program or method, it only works so much, because that cookie cutter is assuming you're in a certain place, and we're all in different places. And so it's important to assess where are you, in this, so that you can go, well, what's the next step? Because the next step is determined by where you are presently. So I want to offer you guys a gift. I'm offering a complimentary connection meeting with me, just to help you figure out what the next step is for you. It's just to help like assess where you are and what's the next step. If you're interested, go to deepalu.com gift. That's what it is, /gift, deepalu.com/gift. And you can sign up and make an appointment for your free connection call. Now, one of the things I also wanted to talk to you about that enhances your ability to deepen your intuition and to develop your spiritual superpowers is about sacred art, right? We mentioned that in the write-up about sacred art. How does sacred art help you grow your intuition and deepen your connection with your higher power? And I want you to get this one statement. Everything is energy. The chair you're sitting on, the computer screen you're looking into, it's all energy. Everything is energy. Now, it's a matter of what kind of energy is it? Is it an energy that lifts you up and expands your consciousness? Or is it an energy that brings you down and contracts your consciousness? Now, if you're a highly sensitive person or an empath like I am, like being on this computer, I love technology. And at the same time, I have to say, a computer actually brings my energy down. I'm very susceptible to EMFs. So if you're someone who's an empath or a high sensitive person, you probably are too. And so there's extra things you have to do to take care of yourself. And so I have like a little routine that I do to take care of my energy being an empath, you know, and I've developed this and I share it with people because it is so important to understand who you are and where you are, okay? In order so that you can be your best and reach your full potential. So sacred art is there to help uplift the energy in your home or office, uplift the energy in you, uplift your energy so you remember that the divine presence is with you every moment of every day because the divine presence is. But we forget, right? Isn't that true? Right? How often do you forget in a day? Probably 100 times, right? That moment that you felt forgetful, or tired or frustrated, those are all moments we're forgetting, right? The moments that you forget or that you forget the divine presence is when you start to worry or have doubt or feel not good enough in you. Those are all moments of forgetting. Okay? It's not that there's something wrong with you, it's your forgetting. And so sacred arts that I create it with a specific blessing and intention to help you feel the divine presence so that you can be blessed by it. Now, it doesn't have to be my sacred art. You know, there's sacred art being created by other people, but I do it with a clear intention of, I want this portal to bless people. I want it to be a portal because I really believe that sacred art is not just about something you put on your wall and you walk by it and ignore it every day, which is what a lot of people do with the art on the wall. It's about communing and connecting, you know, to remind you that, oh, wait a minute, divine presence is here with me. And let me take a moment to stop and do namaste in front of this piece of live art because it's here to bless you. You know, it's here to help you to remember the divine presence. And if you really want to develop that intuitive ability, you commune with the portal. You commune with the sacred art by connecting with it, by connecting with the part of it that's alive because it is. See, art in the world helps people have realizations. You know, some of the art is used with people. Sometimes they use it to process their emotions, which is not a bad thing. But I don't want to do that because I'm not wanting to put that on my wall. Someone's processed emotion that they let go of grief or hatred or, you know, or anger. Because to me, if that's what they put in the art, that's what, you know, not to me, it's the truth, is because it's all energy. That's what it's going to bring to you. You see, so the idea is you put things in your home and on your walls that help elevate you, that help bring forth the divine presence in you so that you can raise your consciousness, start to own your power, and actually step into, how can I be the light in this world? How can I be my light? See, I want every one of you, I want every person on the planet to step into owning their light. You know, I came here to like be a blessing, that I want to give blessings so people can own their power and their blessing in the world. Because when you step into your purpose, you're stepping into your blessings that you give others. So one of the things that I have here, do I have time still, Marina? Okay, because I was going to let some portal, I had a couple portals that said they want to volunteer and give a message. I think, what do I have, like 5 or 10 minutes? Okay, so one of the things I do is I had actually 2 portals show up. I don't know if I have time for both of them. I'm going to let this is my heart chakra angel. It's a little hard to like let you see him, but this is my heart chakra angel. And she came to me, and it's all, her blessings are here about helping you really step into owning the desires of your heart. Okay, and healing whatever is preventing that. And I'm going to basically just tune into the heart chakra angel, and she's going to give me a message for the group to let you know. Okay, so let me take a moment and tune into her. So the heart chakra angel is telling me that she wants all of you for this moment to bring your hands into namaste. And she's saying that because she's saying that as you bring your hands into namaste in front of your heart, it helps you to connect with your heart, to open your heart, to be open to the other person that's standing in front of you, what's in their heart. And in order for us to be fully realized into our open heart, we have to be also in the grace of accepting other people's open heart. Because in reality, we're all one. You know, we're not these separate beings and bodies that we see. We're actually one big heart chakra. And when we put our hands in namaste, we're tuning into that energy of the one big heart chakra that is here. It's the vibration of the planet if we tune into it. And that right now with COVID happening, heart chakra is saying we need this more than ever to be tuning into the energy of the heart. And that is what's going to bring healing. It's going to bring healing to ourselves and to the world. If we just can take a moment each day to tune into the universal energy of the heart, of, of, of the truth of your desire, and of the truth of what's vibrating, that's trying to reveal itself in this challenge with COVID. Because what Heart Chakra Angel is telling me is that every challenge we have, whether it be personal or in the world, it's actually trying to reveal a positive blessing. And that we need to tune into that positive blessing by putting our hands in namaste and saying to the Heart Chakra Angel, or to whatever higher power you believe in, I'm open to the blessings that are trying to reveal itself. So that's the message she's giving. I'm not sure how much time I have, Marina, because I did not pay attention to when I started.
Don't worry about it. If you have another message, give it. And, you know, I think that's what we came for. Go ahead.
So I have these healing hands. I don't know if you can see them. I'm going to shift the energy and move heart chakra over. Can you guys see the healing hands? They're a little bit harder to see. These are, came from a vision I had. Both of them have come from visions I've had. But the healing hands are really here to help bring the vibration of healing into your heart chakra. Into all of you, but I'm assuming the reason why both of these came, that I'm getting the download now from Heart Chakra saying yes, is that I don't usually have more than one that volunteers to show up when I have one of these kind of talks, but all three of them said I want to show up, so I said all right. And that's the thing, is I always just say yes. And I'm getting that the healing hands are already telling me that yes, we came here to help people heal what blocks their heart chakra, and to be open to the energy of healing. Because the healing hands are saying that the only way healing happens is when you're open. And the only way it happens is open and willingness. Those are the two most important energies that the healing hands are saying. And that's the thing about the healing hands, is when you see them, there's the closed hands, you know, with that energy, the healing energy within the ball of light, and then the hands open. And the healing hands are saying that that's basically what has to happen in your heart chakra, is that you have to, you know, your heart chakra is going to be closed if you're having fear or emotional wounds rule your life, or subconscious programming. And that your willingness is what begins to open it and change it. And so the healing hands are recommending that you focus on the energy of willingness, because willingness will help you have a shift. The other thing that they're saying, that's why I stopped for a minute, because they started to say more, was that the healing hands are saying to focus on the fact that there are healing guides around you. You don't have to sense them or know them or who they are, but to just say, healing guides, I'm open. I'm open to your energy coming in to bless me. And they're saying that that openness, and that's what makes you open, is to question. The question of saying, I'm open. Healing guides, show up for me. You know, healing guides, I'm here to hear what you have to say. You know, it's like that, the healing hands are saying that that is what's going to make a difference on your healing, is the question you ask and the openness and willingness.